So, what if I told you there's a new anime gacha game that plays like GTA? Yes, stealing cars, fighting NPCs, open world chaos, the whole package. But let's be honest, none of that matters if the gacha system is bad. So today I'm breaking down the gacha system for Neverness to Everness, aka NTE, and why it might be one of the most player-friendly systems we've seen in an overall gacha. We will cover 3 things today: how the gacha system works, limited and weapon banners, and which banners that you should pick from the standard selector. Without wasting time, let's get into it. First, let's talk about how NTE's gacha works. Now, this is where things get interesting. Instead of the usual pull animation, NTE turns the gacha into a board game system. Think Monopoly or Mario Party. You roll a d6 die and your character moves forward based on the number that you've rolled. It's honestly way more fun to watch compared to other traditional gachas, but if you don't really care about animations, you can just skip everything and go straight into the results. Now here's something important. Pity carries over between banners. That alone already puts it ahead of other gachas. And on top of that, you can also get cosmetics and extra limited pulls, which in most gacha games, cosmetics are locked behind pay systems. Alright, so that itself is cool, but what really matters is, how fair is it? So let's talk about the limited banner right now. This is what makes NTE really stands out at the moment. There is no 50-50 mechanic. Let me repeat that. There is no losing to a random character that you don't want. If you put on the limited banner, you will hit soft pity at 70 pulls and you will get the character at 90 pity guaranteed. Simple, clean, no nonsense. So overall, it's very predictable and player friendly. Now, usually, when a game is generous with their characters, they try to balance it out by making the weapon banner terrible. So, is that the case here? Surprisingly no. The weapon banner is actually pretty dang solid. So here's how it works. You can only do 10 pulls. You are guaranteed an S rank weapon at 60 and 80 pulls respectively. And do note, it kinda works like a checkpoint system. Your pity will only reset here upon obtaining the rate up weapon. Now for the rates. At 60 pulls, you have a 25% chance to get the rate up weapon. At 80 pulls, it then becomes a 100% guarantee. And the rate for an S rank weapon is 4.19%, which is actually very high compared to most gacha games. Plus, just like everything else, pity carries over here too. So overall, the weapon system is not a trap and it's actually quite reasonable. Alright, so the limited banners are great and the weapons are fair. But what about the standard banner? Because this is where most players start. The standard banner works very similarly to the limited one, but there's one key feature. At 50 pulls, you get a standard selector, which means you can directly choose a character instead of relying on luck, and this is huge for beginners, because instead of rerolling endlessly, you can just play the game and guarantee a strong start. So overall, NTE's gacha system is very fair because every limited character and weapon that you pull on is guaranteed at 90 and 80 pulls respectively, and a selector on the standard banner. Honestly, this might be one of the most forgiving open world gacha systems we've seen so far. And just to add a side note, to reiterate, the cosmetic items are part of the limited banner, and they do have their own rates, and here are the full overview about the banner by this Reddit user. So we've talked about the gacha banners, about the rates and what they offer, but now comes the most important question for new players. Who should you actually pick from the standard selector? Because this decision can literally define how smooth your early game is going to be. Let's break it down tier by tier. Starting with the best pick right now, Julian is absolutely deserving in the S tier for the safest and strongest start. She provides strong early game damage, crowd control, and solid attack range. This combination makes her incredibly reliable in almost every situation. If you don't want to think about too much, just pick Julian, simple as that. Right next to Julian is Hathor. Hathor is a DPS with high damage potential. She's especially convenient in overworld combat. You can just run up to enemies, hold E, and they will just melt. However, there's a catch. At least from the last beta test, not sure if it gets fixed in the official release, it has been reported that her follow-up attacks from her E skill has very major tracking issues, especially against smaller enemies, which means on the often, you will just miss. Even with that, I would say she still sits in S tier, but if that ever gets fixed, she would definitely be way more solid. Now, what if you want someone as strong, but you want to invest into the later game? Baitang would most likely be the character that you're looking for, and he will be sitting in A tier on our list. Baizhang is not your typical beginner-friendly DPS by the way, he is a late-game focused character. His kit is a bit more complex, revolving around applying 3 different statuses and then consuming them with his ultimate for big damage. He will feel underwhelming in early game, but again, late game is where he shines, so if you're planning long term, then he's a solid investment, but for immediate value, there are better picks. Let's talk about our next character, Sakiri. Sakiri sits at a bit of a unique spot. Once you unlock her second passive, she provides a solid attack buff, which that can be very valuable. Outside of that though, her kit is overall average. I'm not saying that she's mid, but you can put her into any team that you have a free team slot in, but she doesn't really do much outside of the attack buff that she provides. But since the attack buff is generally useful and you can kind of just put her into any free slot, I will personally put her into A- tier. Now moving into a more niche territory, we have Daffodil in B tier. Daffodil is a character that can feel amazing or completely underwhelming depending on the situation. Let me explain. Daffodil is a DPS with a very specific combat loop: intro, ultimate, parry, exit. The key part here is the parry mechanic. If the enemy allows you to consistently parry, she will perform extremely well, but if not, her performance will drop very harshly. So she's very matchup dependent. Great in the right scenario, very inconsistent overall though. And finally, the lowest priority option. Fadia is a defensive support who can tank damage for her teammates. Sounds useful, right? The problem is, you have more accessible options in the beginning of the game. Sustainer, Adler, and another easy to get gacha option, Edgar. Because of that, Fadia just doesn't bring enough value early on. She's not bad, but she doesn't really give enough oomph to boost your progression. Just to recap your best picks, we have Julian and Hathor on S tier being your best overall choice, then following by Baitang and Sakiri being on A tier as your overall strong picks, then followed by Daffodil on B tier as your mid tier option, and then lastly Fadia, which is your lowest priority C tier. And that's pretty much everything that you need to know about NTE's gacha system and which character that you should start with. Overall, the gacha system is fair, predictable, and actually respects your time. Now the real test is, how is the gameplay and content gonna hold up after its launch? If this helped you, leave a like and drop a comment. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.